Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Stearman PT-17 by Dancing Wings Hobby. This airplane was sent to me by BitGo Hobbies for review, so I'd like to say thanks to BitGo for sending this plane out, and there'll be a link in the description if you'd like to get one for yourself. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the fuselage. It's a 55-inch wingspan biplane, and as you can see, it comes covered right out of the box. And based on my first look, the covering looks like it's really well done. I don't see any wrinkles or sags. Everything looks like it's cut and applied just fine. Looks very clean application of shrink covering to me, and a nice application of rubber sealed trim around the cockpit openings, which is very cool. And the fuselage opens by just removing this canopy cover, and there are 4 magnets holding the canopy down on the body of the airplane. Underneath the canopy cover, it looks like a nice big deck. However, I do see 2 slots for servos. Looks like elevator and rudder go there, so I'm not exactly sure where the batteries go. That looks like the traditional spot for the batteries, so I'll be curious to see how that works out during the build process. The interior looks like it's been assembled well. I don't see any glue overages, and all the interlocking pieces look like they're in the right spot, so no complaints about the interior assembly at all. Here's a look down the port side of the fuselage, and on the belly, again, no complaints on the covering. Looks like it's all been expertly applied. Very nice. Here's a look at the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. I've always been a fan of this trainer scheme with the red and white candy stripe on the fin. I think that's very cool. They do install the hinges for you already. They have to be glued, but I do want to point out there's a little bit of a gap. These are pin hinges, and that leaves a little bit of a gap in between the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. So if those things matter to you, you might need to be prepared to make an adjustment, maybe with shrink covering or by doing a little bit of work with a hobby knife and opening up the holes to allow those knuckles to set in there a little farther on the stabilizer and rudder. Just pointing it out. And they've already got holes pre-drilled in the vertical stabilizer for the cable supports that go into the fuselage. As far as the wings go, there's only 1 set of ailerons. They are on the bottom wing, and they come taped on the wing surface just for reference, so you'll have to install those on your own. I do like the fact that they've already opened up the servo compartment, and they provide a beauty cover that's covered already for you to go over the top of the servo. That's just a time saver, very handy. As far as the covering goes, just like the fuselage, looks really good. I don't see any wrinkles or sagging at all. The wing looks very well made, and the edge looks very straight to me. I don't see any problems looking down the straight edge. It looks very straight, no issues at all. Nice straight lower wing. Same deal with the starboard lower wing, very straight and no issues at all with the covering. It looks very clean. Nicely done. Here's a quick look at the starboard upper wing. Very clean covering on this one as well, and a perfectly straight edge. So it looks like the assembly, as far as I can tell, looks very good. Remember, no aileron on the top wing. And then finally, the port upper wing. Nice straight leading edge, nice job on the covering. Overall, I got to give Dancing Wings top marks on the covering. Looks like it's been applied very well. I don't see any wrinkles or sags, and I really like the color scheme. I think the gray and yellow livery looks really good on this plane. Here's a look at the horizontal stabilizer for the starboard side and the elevator. You'll be required to hinge this one yourself, as it's just taped on for reference. And you can see based on the slot, it uses a torque tube to connect the 2 elevator halves. Here's the port side horizontal stabilizer and elevator, and then just a quick look down the edge, and you can see that it's nice and straight, no issues there at all. Dancing Wing also includes a couple of landing gear leg covers that are balsa and shrink covered, along with the typical side skirts that go along the fuselage, and it looks like one for the tail wheel as well. The final built up and shrink covered piece is the upper wing joiner. This is where the 2 top wings meet over the fuselage. The landing gear do have oleo struts, and when I first took them out of the box, they felt very stiff to me. So what I wound up doing is getting out my WD-40 PTFE, and I just sprayed a little down in the tube and on these joints, and that seemed to ease things up quite a bit. So I feel a lot better about the movement now. They feel like they move quite a bit better, and the same thing with the other leg. So just a little bit of lubrication, that seems to loosen it up just fine. I'm hoping with the weight of the airplane, they'll be able to articulate even better. So just keep in mind, you might have to lube your oleos up just a little bit to get them to move better. And continuing on with accessories, there's a plastic engine cover for the front. And then as far as the hardware bag goes, that's a pretty substantial bag of hardware. I see a lot of little screws and nuts and cables in there, so that tells me this assembly is gonna take a while, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. There's a bag full of wing supports for the upper and lower main wing. I've taken one out just to give you a quick look, so you can see they've got it covered in the same shrink covering as the body. It should give it a nice finished look when it's done. As this PT-17 is a plug-and-play model, they've included a ZTW Beetles ESC. This one is a 60 amp. If you follow the channel at all, you know I'm a big fan of these ESCs, so my approval on that for sure. Regarding the motor, they sent a 2817 900 kV. This is a generic motor. I don't see any other brand markings on it, so it's just a generic 2817 900 kV. And to wrap up power development, they include an Aero RC 12x6 prop. Dancing Wing also includes two 37-gram servos and two 17-gram servos. They are generic. I don't see any markings on the outside, but if you want to source your own servos, 37 grams, 17 grams. Dancing Wing includes a full color manual, and it looks pretty decent. There's a nice parts layout, and they cover the steps, written in both English and Chinese, so you can follow along with your build. It looks fairly comprehensive to me. I'll know more, of course, after I'm done with the build. Yeah, I don't really see any problem with the manual. It looks like they at least made an honest effort. And to wrap up my first look, here are some of the decals that come with the PT-17. These are the white stars and blue background that go on the wings. There's a couple of US Navy decals, some for the fuselage, some for the wings. Looks like a couple of tail numbers in there. I like that this is a Navy version. Go Navy. You know, I had a PT-17 before and I gave it away, and it's one of those ones that I kind of regret. I wish I would have kept hold of that one because I really did enjoy flying that plane. I feel very fortunate that BitGo asked me to review another PT-17, and this time I got one in Balsa. So I'm really happy to have this plane back in the hangar. I'm gonna get it built as soon as I can, and we'll get it out for a build review and a maiden flight just as soon as I can. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, YouTube should recommend another one for you to watch right about now. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy and go fly something.